Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you for allowing us to be here. Our name is Gow Fields, 5604 Hillview Court in Lakeland. First of all, I want to apologize to Mrs. Bird. Mrs. Bird, I owe you and your husband and family an apology that due to my relationship by virtue of marriage to one of the school board members, I feel I haven't engaged enough in dealing with some of the behavior of the board that has led us to where we are in your retirement. But I also want to note in your retirement letter, after you listed a number of accomplishments that you have enjoyed with your team during your time as the superintendent, you also pointed out that due to the behavior of some board members is why you were resigning. Is that correct? Would two of those board members by name be Board Member Townsend and Miller? Yes. Okay, thank you. This is for all the board. When you were sworn in, you took an oath of office that you would uphold the U.S. Constitution and the Florida Constitution. You also said that you uphold the laws of the state of Florida. One of the things that's embedded in the state laws are when there's a contract, a valid contract in the eyes of the state of Florida, that you would honor that as well. That is part of what you're supposed to support. The contract I'm referring to is the one with the superintendent. And routinely, by behavior of some board members, that contract has been violated. And I want you to understand the superintendent belongs to all the employees, all the people of the county. All the employees of the school district belong to all the people of the county. The same people who elected you and put you in the seats that belong to them. And when you allow what's going on to occur, you're dishonoring and demeaning the people that you're supposed to represent. As a board, you say you abhor and reject bullying in the schools, yet the most blatant bullying takes place on this board. And it is affecting employees of this school district. And that means it's dishonoring and disrespecting the people that you represent. The only people who can police the board, the behavior of the board between elections are the other board members. And to give you a visual, if George Floyd were the superintendent, if Officer Chauvin was Board Member Townsend, if the other officer that had the two knees in the back of Mr. Floyd were Board Member Miller, then that means the other board members are standing by watching and being complicit. That cannot be. You're going to have to choose another superintendent. They're going to be looking at the behavior of this board. It can't just be Mrs. Fields speaking up about this behavior consistently. It has to be everyone doing it consistently. When you fail to do that, you're dismeaning and dishonoring the people that you represent. That should not occur. We cannot deliver our best effort to our people in this county, the employees of this county, but more importantly to the students, when the behavior that goes on the board is causing us to spend taxpayers' money to do unnecessary searches to replace what Mayor Gow said, as many believe is the best and most effective superintendent this district has ever had. Thank you, and I hope you receive those comments the way they were intended.
Thank you, sir.
I think Mr. Fields' comments suggest how irrational this has gotten for a handful of people. I think people can hear what he said and make judgments for themselves as to whether the board is the equivalent of what he discussed there. So anyway, that's all I have.
So I can tell you how deeply disgusted I am by the actions of Mr. Fields tonight. You can imagine that my phone has not stopped blowing up and I cannot get to the messages. People are very disgusted and they are apologizing for his behavior, which is unfortunate. Many people who Mr. Fields thinks he represents are outraged by his actions. I do not take that kind of showboating seriously, but some people are very upset. I am sad that a man that claims to be a Christian is so vile. I'm also ashamed that our superintendent decided to participate in such foolishness. Our executive that is paid $250,000 a year with a benefit package is not a victim. You would not call a man a victim. As a proud woman leader, I will show her more respect than she has ever shown me. This victim narrative that Mr. Fields and others have spun since the day the superintendent and I have met has overshadowed her true leadership skills that I believe in. I ask hard questions. I hold people accountable. I called the superintendent out privately because I do not blog. And I try to keep my private conversations private. I called the superintendent on something that she did by I had an agenda item that she decided to take off the agenda on her own. That's against board policy. And she was very angry that I was holding her accountable. Guess who I was trying to help? The conversation I was trying to have with the board was about transportation for kids with disabilities. The ones that, the data points that really get left behind. That's what I was working on when I angered her by reminding her that she could not remove things from an agenda that a board member put on. It is our policy. I was elected and waited months for the superintendent to meet with me. She wanted nothing to do with me from day one. I met with officials throughout this county to understand how should I approach someone so guarded, and I tried to figure out why she was so guarded. I learned she was told from the beginning by the Fields that I was out to have her removed. I was shocked at that time, and I worked for months to try to develop a relationship. I worked for months, almost a year. Nothing worked. This is not the behavior of a successful executive. I even tried to suggest we have some kind of coach to help with board relations. She was not interested. So for all the great things that Mrs. Bird has done, her legacy will be someone who isolates and ignores people instead of trying to work with them. Let me lean in so Mr. Fields can hear me. Your outlandish behavior will not silence me. You will not intimidate me. I will continue to work for kids. I look forward to hiring a superintendent who does not choose you as their go-to advisor, but someone of higher moral character. You owe the Floyd family an apology for your circus that you tried to create with his memory. And I think we need to get back to work. We are in the middle of a crisis, and I'm ready to work for kids. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.